Welcome to Game Time Live. Larry Michael and Andrew Walker were here with the Redskins taking on the Jets at 1 o'clock. It's going to be the 11th meeting between these two teams. It's beautiful here in terms of temperature. Said the game was going to be cold. I don't feel it. Temperature in the you feel cold, Andrew?
It actually feels a lot better. I think you're right. It feels a lot better than everyone expected right now. So.
Former Redskin Darryl Grant is here. Alumni weekend next week, and we're going to get excited about that. So you got the Jets and the Redskins, and you have some news right off the top. You have the list of inactives, and I guess pretty much a lot of this is predictable after having seen the injury report this week. So what do you have there, my friend?
Well, there were 6 players we knew were going to be on this list. A 7th was it was mulled this morning that Matt Jones might not be able to go, and that's going to be the case. So we have Deshaun Jackson, D'Angelo Hall, Chris Culliver, Jones, Trent Williams, Corey Lichtensteiger, and Jordan Reed, all inactive. So, obviously that a lot of people might look at that, say Robert Griffin III's active, but probably be that third quarterback anyway. But still, yeah, a lot of key guys on that list.
All right, let's step aside and check out some of the action here as the Redskins warm up here at MetLife Stadium, which has been converted into the Jets' home stadium. It's amazing how they just turn it around. So the Redskins have a new combo, new center today, Ty and Secchi. I think we got a shot at him right down there in that far corner end zone. How are these guys going to do, Andrew?
Well, it's about as tough of a test as they could ask for. When you lose your Pro Bowl left tackle, you use your veteran center. For Ty and Secchi, it's his first career start. For Josh Leibus, a second career start, but first at center. So obviously a tough task against probably the league's best defense right now. So, they're going to be on their game. I'm interested to see how Jay Gruden dials it up on these plays, how creative they can get to try to take away the strengths of the Jets defense, which is pretty much all over the field.
Let's check a look at Laribas there as he's practicing that shotgun snap, and he has had a little taste of action, but not a lot, and Secchi hasn't played at all in the NFL. Laribas has moved around the offensive line. Do you think this is an opportunity for him? Because like Corey Lichtensteiger, one of the better centers in the NFL, banged up. We don't know how long he's going to be out. If Laribas performs well, I think that might be good for him.
Oh, yeah, it's great for Laribas. I mean, he's one of those guys that could play either the center or guard position. So if he can have a solid performance today, it definitely help his status, obviously, on this team. But Redskins are going to need him not only this week, but it seems like maybe even next week heading into the bye. So Lichtensteiger, as you said, is banged up in many areas. So big game for Laribas.
It's kind of an odd look there behind Laribas. Ari Kwanjo is deep as the quarterback, as Kwanjo is going to be active. He and Tom Compton, the only backup lineman available to the Redskins. Let's swing it around, Alex, and check out the quarterbacks warming up. And as you mentioned, Robert will be active today. The numbers game works in his favor. Ryan Grant in front of us. But Kirk Cousins comes into this game looking to shake off the ending against Atlanta. Could you talk about the work week for the Redskins this week? And they almost didn't have enough players to practice.
Right, yeah. With all the injuries and everyone going down, it was one of those things where they wanted to be precautionary with some guys, and then they just didn't get better. So, for Kirk Cousins, it's going to be a real test because, he doesn't have those key offensive linemen in front of him. He's going to have to trust some young guys that don't have a lot of experience. Now, your most experienced guy is Morgan Moses now. This will be his, 7th career start. So that right side, he's really going to have to lean on them for their experience. They've been here all game. But, Alfred Morris, with Matt Jones out, Alfred Morris is really going to have to step up and show that he is that premier back. And Chris Thompson, obviously, will have more of a load today.
Check out the Redskins wide receivers here closest to us. You see Deshaun Jackson's back to us, and Deshaun will not play. I think you're looking at him potentially returning this next home game against Tampa Bay, which is going to be the alumni homecoming game. And that hamstring just taking a little bit extra time, had a little tweak earlier this week, and he was downgraded, not upgraded, downgraded to out yesterday, so he will not play in this ball game. But you got some other guys, and you see Andre Roberts, who was questionable. He had hurt his quad. He is ready to go. You got Rashad Ross, the speedster, who drew that big PI last week, and no substitute for speed. And Jamison Crowder is next to take a rep here. Tell me about Jamison Crowder and how much he's really improved and how much he has looked good this year.
Yeah, in training camp, obviously the Redskins brass knew what they were doing. They picked him, but Jameson's just really stepped up in training camp, was making great plays every day. He got hurt for a little bit, but then he's come back now, and he's really been impressive. You can use him in so many types of situations, bubble screens, deep, down the seam, anywhere, and he can make plays for you. And we saw how shifty he was on one play in particular last week, and you saw why, as a punt returner he can be so dangerous because he's so shifting. He can move so quickly, he's so quick. So, yeah, he's a key weapon for this Redskins offense.
Larry Michael, Andrew Walker, Game Time Live. There's Derek Carrier, caught a touchdown pass last year. Jets coming off a bye week, Andrew. What can you tell us about them? Outstanding defense, number one in the NFL in fewest points allowed. And so the Redskins offense certainly going to be challenged here today.
Yeah, and gets better for them today. Unfortunately for the Redskins, Sheldon Richardson comes back from that 4-game suspension to start the year. So he's going to be rearing to go, and they're so good up front. And the Redskins have faced some really good defensive fronts. This one's right up there. And then what sets the Jets apart is their secondary, obviously with Darrelle Revis leading the way. So this defense is just really, really good. And actually on the other side of the ball on offense, you're not really blown away by their quarterback, obviously, but they do a good job protecting their quarterback. He gets the ball out of his hands, and anytime you have Brandon Marshall, that big target who can make such tough catches, you're going to have a chance. Chris Ivory, haven't even mentioned him yet. He's such a tough big back. He's going to try to bust some up the middle. The Redskins are going to try to have a say in that.
Ivory, in fact, leads the NFL in yards per game. 104 yards is average per game. He's missed one game due to an injury. And you know what? They've only have 2 receptions by their tight ends. You're looking at Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, and Ivory. Got a couple other backs that they'll mix in there, but this is not a complicated offense we're going to see from the Jets. It's an error-free offense, however. Their quarterback will throw some picks, no doubt about it, Ryan Fitzpatrick, but he's only been sacked twice this year. And this is a quarterback who's beaten the Redskins 3 times with 3 different teams. And today he's trying to do it with the 4th different team. So he can't keep a job, obviously, but if he was playing the Redskins every week, someone would probably keep him.
Yeah, and, I look at their offense, and I see the Falcons last week, how Freeman just kept bouncing things to the outside, and I think every single run he had was to the outside. This isn't the way the Jets attack it. I think it plays into the Redskins' favor a little bit more defensively. You got Terrence Knight and company. Chris Baker playing the best football of his career inside. And I think Ryan Kerrigan got going last week. He looked more like the guy that we've all grown to know. So I think.
What do you mean grown to know? You've known him longer than us. But anyway, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, just a couple years. But I think those 2 sacks that the Jets have given up. I feel that today the Redskins might break free for a couple and at least double that number. So yeah, but the Jets do a good job. They limit their mistakes, and we'll see if the Redskins, like last week, can try to capitalize on some mistakes.
That's Andrew Walker. I'm Larry Michael. This is Game Time Live. We are at the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium, where just 3 weeks ago we were here, where the Redskins took on the New York Giants. These 2 teams share the stadium, and everything gets flipped from blue to green electronically in most cases. You see the banners in the end zone. Those are not electronic. But the Jets, last time out, victorious in London. They have not played here since September 27th. Their lone loss of the year, which is the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah. Eagles took a 24-0 lead in that game, didn't score in the second half, and hung on for the win. And that was a tale of 2 halves. The Redskins have not had very much luck scoring in the third quarter this year. They've only got 3 points in the third quarter, but a fast start here, I think, is very important, which takes me to your keys to the game, Andrew. You always have 5 keys to the game. Some people only come with 4. You got an extra key each week. You got 5 keys to the game. So let her rip. Key number 1.
So we've touched on all these pretty much, but Sheldon Richardson's back in that Jets D overall against the Redskins offensive line that is young and has some guys filling in holes there. So that's going to be key. How will they respond to this obviously talented front that's been pretty much among the best in the NFL? Talked about Chris Ivory. You got to figure out a way to stop him. They had Darrell Young practicing as that main back this week to kind of practice for that physicality and that big body. So you got to.
Let me ask you this: Darrell Young, you mentioned his name with Matt Jones being out. Alfred Morris is going to carry the load here, and of course you got Chris Thompson. Maybe Darrell Young sees the football a little bit more today.
Right, maybe more I formations, more formations where Darrell's in there and is that lead blocker, and we've all seen how good he is at that. So, maybe even give it to him in the red zone, see if he can score. He's done that, proven he can do that. So yeah, Darrell Young could definitely play a factor. And just going on here. Got to make those halftime adjustments, as we talked. 3 points in the third quarter, and then the other team's doing, making those adjustments against the Redskins defense. So you have to make those adjustments at halftime and come out on fire in both the first and the third quarters. And then finally, you just got to strike fast. The Redskins have shown that they're willing to go deep at times these last couple weeks, and they've capitalized on a couple of them. You talked about Rashad Ross and how they had big PI last week. I think Rashad Ross, Jamison Crowder will play a huge factor early as they try to set the tone and not let the Jets defense set the tone against them.
Andrew, I appreciate you stopping by. Andrew Walker, check out his work on Redskins.com, on social media. Everywhere you look, Andrew Walker is there with the Redskins newsroom team. We thank you for checking their work out. One final word from us. A couple reminders before we give you our keys to the game. If you're coming to the game, the next home game against Tampa Bay, you want to check out Gametime Live. We come to you from the Sponsors Club, which is right outside the Bank of America gate. You can come down inside the lower concourse and check out the show. That's a change for us. We did it last week, and we're going to continue to do it, and it'll improve. You can come by and see us. And also Monday morning Redskins Roundup, the day after every Redskins game. It is Clinton Portis joining Chris Cooley for a breakdown the day after each and every Redskins game. You can see that tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. on Comcast Sportsnet, or you can catch the show on redskins.com as well. For me, the keys to this game, pretty simple to me. You got to win the battle of turnovers in this game. The Redskins cannot afford to give the Jets anything. Their defense is outstanding. Their defense creates short fields for their offense, and while their offense isn't dynamic, like I say, they benefit from the turnovers that the Jets' defense forces. So the Redskins have to win the battle of the turnovers. It is imperative. That's at the very top of the list for me in terms of keys to this game. Now, from the Redskins, special teams going to be a key. If the Redskins could get something special from their special teams here today, they have been far from outstanding this year, but a nice kickoff return or a punt return by Crowder, kickoff return by Rashad Ross, I think that would be paramount. And also the Redskins need to run the ball against this defense. It's almost impossible to do it, but they're going to have to stick with it. You can't put that much pressure on Kirk Cousins at this point. They force him to go out there and try to win this game by himself. That is not a winning formula. Not to say it wouldn't work, but that is not the prediction on our end. Win the battle of turnovers, run the ball, and get something special from your special teams, and that's the Redskins' formula for victory. I want to thank you for watching Gametime Live from the Meadowlands. Don't forget to keep it on redskins.com all game long. You got a lot of galleries, photo galleries going up, all the highlights, everything there for you. And we'll talk to you later from the broadcast booth. Thanks for watching Gametime Live.